Okay, welcome over here again at the Crowdsourcing Week in Brussels. Next to me is Sean, the founder of Wikibrands.
Good to see you.
Welcome. You had a great talk this morning.
Thanks. It was a while ago, wasn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a long day. Yes. Can you first explain to me what is Wikibrands?
So Wikibrands was a book. We published it worldwide. What turned into a book, then turned into a research paper, then turned into a full-on business. So I now kind of consult with executive people around the world about how to do digital well. And the difference I think I have is twofold. One, I don't really have a bias. I'm not trying to sell software. I'm not trying to sell you some media. I'm just trying to give an executive your best decision on digital. Second thing is, as part of the book, we actually interviewed the top 100 brands that we thought were doing a good job in this connected world. We got all their insights and we developed a roadmap that we think all the best brands go about doing. So that's what Wikibrands is about.
Cool. And what were your key insights visiting those 100 brands?
Some of it's humbling. Some of them you think are actually doing a good job, and you realize after you take the wizard behind the curtain, it's like they're really not doing that great of a job. So we were able to find at least the great people, and there is a method to the madness. There's 12 steps that most of these people do. 6 of them are very strategic. 6 of them are very tactical. The highlights would be content. Content is key. If you don't have great content, awesome content that people want to talk about, click on, notice, and talk about, you're dead in this world. And I think just having a customer focus. I mean, that sounds very simple, but most companies convince themselves that they're in it for the customer, and their customer throws it back in their face going, no, that doesn't reflect me at all.
And when you look at the top brands of these days, there are some research about that's about 50% of the new brands of the list of the top 100 brands weren't in the list 2 or 3 years ago, or something like that. But I also see that lots of new brands got a really short-term focus. They're growing really fast. How do you think those new technology brands like WhatsApp, like Facebook, like a Snapchat, how do you think that they can build a long-term focus? Because they're really growing this fast. It's almost not healthy for them.
Well, if they could stay around long enough without being purchased for multi-billion dollars, that might help first, right? It's very rare the company that actually rejects that big $1 million or $1 billion offer. So part of it's just, are you going to even stay around 5 years as an entity? I would say 2 things about that. One, they have a massive advantage versus large companies. When you're a 10-person company and you're a startup and you're growing like crazy, you don't have to have a big vision on the wall that says we're all about this. Everybody at the company already knows that, so it's easy to do. The disadvantage is, as you've just mentioned, you grow that fast, chaos starts to happen, you start to be guided by different things other than what originally got you into the, exactly, right? So I think VCs sometimes can be a huge enemy of good organic digital brand building, because they're after a different thing.
Yeah, definitely. And this morning you also presented some results from your study. Can you share some results with us and our viewers?
I will tease your viewers with a number of things. So we asked about 40 questions in the study. We kind of had a world of what I'd call digitally enlightened individuals kind of give us the answer, so it's not representative set. We got people that really knew crowdsourcing, and I think some of the highlights were certainly there's an optimism about crowdsourcing growing even faster than the 90% per year that it's growing right now. So I think I mentioned in my presentation, this can be the fastest part of the web right now. If you view it as a component or a segment of the web, I could make claim that this is the fastest thing, and people have said it's going to keep growing. I'd say the other things that were interesting, certainly for our sponsor today, BNP Paribas, we looked at which industries are going to be reinvented over the next 3 years by the crowd movement. What do you think number 1 was? Finance and banking, right? Yeah. So there's a reason why I'd say 25% of our room today is filled with finance people, because they're either petrified in terms of what that's going to mean for their business, or they want to chummy up and get cozy to the people that are actually actively playing.
But do you really think that they can make the change, honestly?
They're going to have to eventually, right? I think I always make the statement, we underestimate how much change happens in the short, or overestimate how much change happens in the short term, and massively underestimate how much change happens over a period of time. I mean, even if you look at banking's much different than it was 15 years ago, right? Yeah. And so for some of the traditional banks that are resisting some of the stuff, I wouldn't like to know what their fates are going to be 5 years from now. Other ones that were interesting, healthcare was number 6. Was high up on the list. We have a lot of government people here too, and albeit it was in the top half, I think it was ranked 11th. I think government's going to change quite a bit too in terms of this whole crowd movement.
I hope so.
I mean, hell, we're all under 30 years old, aren't we? Like, aren't we pretty apathetic to government?
Yeah,
And so,
definitely, yeah. And when you maybe also a nice challenge because how I see crowdsourcing is that with crowdsourcing you really get the full potential and the real added value of your stakeholders. So when people are involved in a crowdsourcing project, then it's really clear what the added value is. But when you look at big corporations and also as small corporations, there are working lots of people that don't add any value to the company.
That's true.
I think it's really exciting.
I made the determination too, because everybody talks about social media. It kind of dwarfs crowdsourcing right now in terms of what people want to talk about. Social media really a lot of times doesn't have a business purpose. It's not focused on a business outcome. It's usually focused on just a connection outcome. It's a media, it's not a business model. I'm much more excited about crowdsourcing. The people that actually love crowdsourcing, I gravitate more towards than the social media gurus or ninjas or zealots or whatever you want to call it. Because I think there's passion around that stuff. And I think the people that get crowdsourcing understand one key thing. The most talented people, the most creative people, the best funding type of people are probably people that don't exist in your current world right now, whether that's your company, whether that's your social circle, and that's what crowdsourcing does through the miracle of technology. It brings you closer to the people that really get what you want to do.
Yeah. I think you're extremely right. When you look at...
I love it when people say extremely right. That makes me feel validated.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
During your presentation, you also gave some really great examples of some crowdsourcing projects. But when I saw that there were good stories, really nice stories, some fascinating, but also some stories where I was thinking, okay, are these not just a nice marketing tricks? Are these and how can we prevent that crowdsourcing is going to be a nice marketing toy for the marketing departments to the same like with branding? I also make the story about the rotten apple with a nice piece of paper and then shine it again, and then that's the brand. So
Yeah.
so what do you think about that?
I agree with you. I even caught some of the presentations later on today, and I said there's this line that you cross where it's no longer co-creation, collaboration. It's really the marketer controlling the process and throwing a suggestion box out that they may or may not use. And I just think consumers will get jaded about that real quick. And so, I go back to do you have a real, authentic, genuine intent of learning from your customers? And if you don't, you're probably going to end up in a world where you actually ask stuff and really don't listen too well.
Yeah.
The people that do listen well are the ones that are really capitalizing on the crowd movement, right?
Yeah, right. Last question.
Yes.
What do you think, or from your expertise, has to happen to make crowdsourcing a long-term a sustainable model? Which key factors has to change or has to be kept?
I'll give you two or three. One, we're already seeing it right now. Big corporations are coming into play where it's true of nearly every business. I hate to say it, but when there's a big money trail, people get very interested, and it starts to show the maturation of a business. I think within a large company, your CEO's got to be involved. This can no longer be a silo operation operating in a way distant department in your company. Unless it's at the core of what you're doing, it'll always be a project that will stay small and will never grow to be the potential that crowdsourcing is. And I think just there's enough case studies out there now that people got to learn about what's going on around them. That's why we're having this conference today at Crowd Week. It's like people need to understand that this is no longer that risky thing that you come back to your company and say, I'm the first one that's trying it, but really it's going to work. No, I think in every single category around the world, we've got good examples, we've got bad examples. People can learn and actually not have to go through the pain that people have gone through over the last 5 or 6 years of doing this.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. No.
You're welcome.
Pleasure.